Zoom's recording. Okay.
Awesome.
I don't have a tease, but I can just say that we're not betting on the Broncos ever again.
Oh, man. Rough.
Even in a tease, they're not even teasable.
It's getting worse week by week.
You lose to the only... Yeah, you're not even getting... Hackett's got to go. Hackett has got to go.
What?
McDaniel saved his job today.
Just recognize that you made the wrong hire. You're new owners. You don't know what you're doing. You just hired a new GM. It's your first hire. Just admit it and cut bait. They're just a disaster. They're running the same. It's like he liked the Seahawks offense the last 3 years because he's just kind of running the same thing.
Yeah.
I feel like Cortland Sutton is just DK, who's just running free and not seeing any of the balls. We finally saw KJ Hamler sighting. It's like you see the little flashes of Russ still throws a beautiful deep ball when you let him sit back and when he does throw it to the receivers, but he's also playing horrible. Geno's, I mean, you put the two's numbers together and you had player A and player B. You'd think it was 100% Russ, who has a 70% completion percentage, not a 61% completion percentage, and 1,000 yards, not 600 yards, and 5 touchdowns, not 3. Like, he is just bad. They're bad now. Javante's hurt.
Melvin can't stop fumbling.
Oh my gosh,
ball.
he's bad. And then even Boone, what is it, Michael Boone or whoever?
Yeah.
He went limping off the field in the fourth quarter. An afternoon slate was just all gross.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are also unbettable, even though they hit in ours today. Unbettable because they're unwatchable. Kyler's also just disgusting to watch. Kingsbury is so frustrating, and then they just don't have D-Hop. So that, I mean, it's a wide receiver core that when everyone gets shifted a position of importance, no, can't do it. Hollywood can't be a 1, can be a great 2. Rondale can't be a number 2. He's a gadget guy. Tight ends are Ertz, who's old, and McBride, who's a rookie, and just a coach who I don't even know, dude. They were screaming at each other. They weren't getting play calls in. Kyler's actually at least emotional, so that's good. But it was a double XP weekend, and we should have known that. And
is it really?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, what do they win by today? I mean,
they won pretty handedly, but that's only because Baker
won by
is
10.
So bad. Can we call for Sam yet? Can we call for Sam?
Might as well.
Let's throw something else in there.
It can't
Baker's,
be much worse.
He's.
If you had to take a guess, what do you think Baker Mayfield's QBR was after today?
For the season?
No, for
Today?
that game. For that game.
13?
7.4.
Oh, my. I just
so
remember
bad.
reading at one point 120 yards, no touchdown, and a pick. And it's like, that's the most Baker stat line.
Two picks, one titty, and 197 yards.
That's a Baker stat line. That is a Baker Mayfield stat line right there, ladies and gentlemen. And it is gross. I think their rookie would have been frisky this year. I think he would have been better than Baker and Darnold.
Yeah, it's a shame that you're not even going to get to just see a
Can't
glimpse
throw
of
him
it.
in there,
What
'cause
was
they
it?
throw
Do you
him in
remember
here.
what it was?
I think he hurt his leg, something in his leg, like a knee injury or something.
And it was surgery out. Not even.
Yeah, no, season's over. But throw him in. Who knows?
I'm trying to think. Honestly, that was the only thing that really screwed me today, betting-wise, was the Broncos. The Steelers, I mean, oh my God, that was another one. If they would have just won, we would have won a nice little 3-leg money blind parlay between the Packers, Vikings, and Steelers. And they were up 10. I think it was 10 in the fourth quarter against Zach Wilson at home. That's just a team that when TJ is not on defense, and then Minka went down in the fourth quarter too. They're just different. And they're just a not very good defense. Here's the question I want to pose to you, because they subbed Trubisky out. We got to see Pickett for the first time. Would you rather have Kyle Shanahan as your coordinator with Mitch Trubisky as your quarterback, or Josh Allen with Matt Canada as your offensive coordinator?
Probably Josh. Because Josh is going to make things happen in the play, whereas Mitch has nothing.
But if everything's on script, you could win a lot of games.
I mean, I guess you're asking Mitch to be Jimmy and just make the throws.
We had the question, and you probably at least think about it longer than you should, because you should not even have to think and just say, yeah, obviously Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But the coordinator and the system is so important.
Oh, I could tell you about that.
And
oh yeah,
the Steelers have so many weapons, and I guess we'll see with Pickett how it looks, whether or not it is a system thing or it was completely a Mitch thing. But it was kind of
Systems.
fun. It's
Yeah.
kind of fun seeing him in there. He ran around.
I did enjoy seeing him, and for not ever playing in an NFL game, he came in and kind of made it seem as if, okay, he can hang. Give him Pickett.
Who do they play next week?
Let's see.
It's not going to be easy. They have, after this week, still one of the two hardest remaining schedules between them and the Bengals.
It's tough.
It gets so bad. I know they play the Bucks, they play the Eagles, they play the Bills. They
Oh.
still got Ravens games
Oh.
At Buffalo.
next week.
Oh.
Here's your first start in Buffalo.
It's a 10 a.m. game, so it's not like, but it's still.
Just team-wise, it's so
Right.
hard. It's going to be
Right.
such a hard
You're
game
in
against
Buffalo.
that defense.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I'll be tuning into that one, though. That'll be. See how he does against a good defense that hopefully gets a few pieces back in the secondary.
Yeah, and they're supposed to. Well, Poyer played today. That was nice.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he had a pick too. The Steelers are probably a week or two away from maybe getting TJ back too.
Really?
So, yeah.
I thought that was more of like a week 10 or 11 thing.
That's what I thought. Kate said it's going to be soon.
Okay.
I think it's one of those. He's one of those guys where it's like this is normally a 6 to 8 week injury, but it's TJ Watt, so he's going to be playing in a month.
Well, it helps that he's young too. Like
Yeah.
it made me realize with Keenan Allen's thing lately is like when you're in your earlier 20s, it's a lot easier to bounce back from things than when you're 31 years old and a hamstring has you out for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So.
TJ doesn't need surgery, which is good. And 19 days ago, it was reported he was only out 6 weeks. So,
So a couple more games.
yeah,
Yeah.
a few more games.
And knowing
3, 4.
him, he's like, as soon as I can play, I'll play. I don't need to be 100%. I'll just come out, be 70%, and still probably be the best player on the field.
Which I get, but at the same time, I've never understood that. As a coach, I'd be like, absolutely not. Wait until it doesn't hurt. Because why risk coming back mid-season when
'Cause
you
we're trying
can
to make
wait?
playoffs.
Right, but when you can wait, and I don't know, an extra 10 days to
We might
really
not
get-
have 10 days.
Well, I get it, but
After blowing that Browns
if
game.
TJ Watt's that important to making the playoffs, I think you need to reconsider what we're doing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, but I mean, he's also the best defensive player, second best in the league.
I get it, but he also doesn't score you points, and he doesn't.
He kind of does.
But he wrecks a game and
he kind of
put
scores
you
you
back 8
points by
yards.
keeping the other team from scoring points.
yeah.
In
It
a
is
way,
a team sport.
expected points added, EPA. That's the stat for a reason.
I'm just saying it's a team sport.
Did you see the end of the Bills-Ravens game and what the Ravens did?
I did see parts of it. I was kind of flipping back and forth.
Did you see the fourth down at the end?
No.
So there was 4. They hadn't scored in maybe 2 hours. It was 20-3, and the Bills scored 20 unanswered to win.
Yeah.
But with 4 minutes left, it was 4th and goal after not getting it 3 times inside the 5, which you probably run your best play on 3rd and goal, right? That's probably like draw it up. We need to run our best play. So if you don't get it on 3rd and goal and you haven't gotten it on 1st and 2nd, all inside the 5, let alone in the conditions that they were in, and you haven't scored in 2 hours, and it's a torrential downpour. But they do the whole rah-rah thing. This is our aggressive mentality. They go for it. Broken play. Lamar throws a ball that's too wet and too high, and it's incomplete. And they give it right back to the Bills, and then they go down the field and kick the game-winning field goal.
Baltimore was shut out in the second half.
It was not the 4th down stuff, dude. It's starting to, the pendulum is starting to swing too far the other way in terms of go for it. People are, especially in bad weather games, not taking into account that it's hard to score, let alone we haven't scored. So you have points on the board and a good defense that have been making at least Josh Allen and them work all day. And don't go for it. Don't go for it. Loser John Harbaugh. His job's never going to be at stake or whatever, but they're already handling the Lamar situation. If I was Harbaugh, I'd be going into the front office and be like, hey, what's Lamar asking for? Okay, give it to him. Give it to him and then 10% more. Because he's our franchise.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
I find that interesting that they're hesitant to pay Lamar Jackson. Hey, man, he won the MVP, his 2nd year in the NFL? What are we doing?
And he's
Right
tied for the passing leading in touchdowns now today.
I know. It's just, it's ludicrous.
Do you
It's
know who's tied
ludicrous.
with him?
Geno Smith.
Nope.
Oh.
It's close to as blasphemous as Geno Smith. Who's leading the league in scoring? Team? With 35 points a game?
The Lions.
The Lions. Not even another team has 30 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
They are
averaging 35 points per game, and they're 1-3.
They are putting up points every game. They're
It's so
right
unlucky.
in there with it. Yeah.
It's so unlucky.
Their defense, man. That's what it is.
Completely.
It's completely their defense. What is their defense averaging? 35?
It has to be giving up the most points in the league. It has to be.
They
If
let
you're-
Seattle score 48 on them.
If
tell
you're
you right
scoring,
now.
they both the Lions and Seahawks single-handedly covered the spread of that game. It was 41 and a half, and the final score was 48-45. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I was literally right on the money. Their opponents are averaging 35.3 points per game, and they're averaging 35 points a game.
That's so bad. That's so bad.
Really, really bad.
Can you look up who their defensive coordinator is? Can we fire that guy immediately? But again, actually, you want to
Someone
ride him
got
because, like we say, this is great. The Lions are fun. They're watchable. We believe in a culture there. They've always had talent. They never seemed to have a culture. Now it kind of seems like they have both, and there's plenty of holes to be filled.
Top 5 pick.
But now let's not only top 5, but number 37, number 38. You get another. I think that's one of the most underrated things from having a top 5 pick is you get to come right back around in the second round and get. I mean, how many guys are there left at the end of the first round that were like? I mean, T. Higgins was drafted like at the end of the first round. That was when they took Travis Etienne, the Jags. I really like the idea, by the way, of when you're drafting a quarterback, drafting a like rookie receiver, almost like in the second round with him. I like that idea because
They have a connection in camp.
they have a connection. Let alone if he's good, you got both of them that are young. Like how amazing is it when you get a Jefferson that gets thrown in, and it's like, oh, we just found this elite guy that like is not only hard to game plan for because teams have never seen him before, but he like helps your rookie quarterback with a lot of your easier things. And then when you already have, let alone one good receiver, like Tyler Boyd, like a situation they had, Tyler Boyd and like Marvin Jones, like you could have rode with them in Cincinnati and drafted a Burrow, and like we got these veteran guys, but getting that youth just like injected into your team, even with like Amon-Ra, let's say the Lions get a top 5 pick and then they take C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, and then they go and take one of the best receivers. Right? And now all of a sudden you have Swift, Stroud, Amon-Ra, and then a top 3 or 4 projected receiver in the draft. Now we're cooking. We're still giving up 35 points a game, so maybe not. Maybe you draft a linebacker with that 36.
Yeah,
pick.
maybe you take a.
But it's just
decent
awesome. I know like the Jamar thing was the perfect example where it was like,
Yeah,
we probably should have
great
drafted
example.
maybe Panay. That's maybe the smart thing to do. And the Lions ended up with him, ironically, and he's been great, actually. And part of why the Lions are so fun is because their offensive line is one of the 5 best in the league, maybe. But getting the Jamar for Cincinnati, like you got that thing. You got that thing with him and Burrow that was just like electric. And like as a fan base, again, Cincinnati, another great example. You're just in purgatory with Andy Dalton for years, and you're just so mad because you have AJ Green, and you have good players. You had good defense. Geno Atkins on the defensive side. They had good defensive players for a while.
Yeah.
But you're just stuck with Andy.
Vontez Burfict.
Great talent.
Adam Pac-Man Jones.
Yes, another stand-up guy.
Gosh, I know that they had some. I mean, they had a couple
They had
Pro
some
Bowlers
dogs.
on that team. Dude.
They had some dogs.
That was a good team. Back real quick to your your defensive coordinator for the Lions, Aaron Glenn. I don't know if you know who that is. I've never heard of him, but that's probably why they're
Saw him
averaging
on Hard
35 points a game or allowing 35 points a game.
That might be one of those things that Dan brought him there. He brought him there
Right.
with him, and he doesn't want. He's one of his guys. But let's just
How-
get emotional. Let's cry, Dan, and let's tell him that it's not working out.
That's how Staley is too. Is guys he came up with, he's loyal to,
I mean,
i.e., Joe Lombardi.
just looking at the Lions really quick, it's almost tick for tack on what they do on offense is exactly what they allow on defense. They've scored 140 points. Opponents, 141. Total touchdowns, they've scored 18. Opponents, 19. You know, it's like just tighten that defense up, and you've got a 35-point game of offense. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I'm so impressed with Goff. He's just hanging in there.
Yeah, he's
They're just
like,
playing
oh,
great.
come
yeah.
on, give me some help.
It's fun. I love watching them. I kind of want to actually just read some of these stats that I think that are pretty fun. First 3 games, the Bucks allowed 27 points, and in the first half tonight, they allowed 28.
Really?
I don't know how to chalk that one up. I felt uncomfortable with giving any judgment to the Bucks because they haven't had the weapons of the receivers, and that's really why the offense has been struggling and not able to capitalize on 27 points in the first 3 games. But tonight it was the other way around, and it was the Chiefs that were questioning, are people game planning against them? Is it harder to score for them? No, they went in with an amazing game plan and threw it all over the field. Mahomes looked great. Clyde looked great.
It's the
Juju looked good.
Chiefs.
Kelsey
They're-
looked great. I mean, the last week was a total fluke, and we learned that today with the Colts-Titans game because Colts are just awful again, and Matt Ryan, I swear, he just dips his hands and, I can't believe it's not butter every time before he walks out onto the field before a drive because just the wind blows the right way and that ball is coming out of his hands. It's Daniel Jones-esque. And
Yeah.
so I don't know what to think about the Bucks after that.
Tom Brady probably should have just stayed retired. He's clearly just so unhappy, so checked out.
But they're in a bad division. The division's awful.
Yeah, they're
because
tied with the Falcons now.
I was telling him, I think we have to swap the Falcons for the Saints from our early, who we're thinking about the 6 and 7 seed, who are going to be those team of 5 that are fighting for that. I think we have to officially take the Saints out and put the Falcons in.
There's always a new team, like 1 or 2 new teams that make it, and the Falcons could easily sneak their way in there. They're frisky.
They're good enough. They're
Yeah.
good enough sometimes. They're good enough sometimes to win.
Pitts makes
games.
a play. They
Makes-
get lucky with the turnover.
You get it right. He makes a play because they don't let him do anything more than just a play.
They don't free him, but
You know, just imagine what that would be unlocked with again with another
Without
rookie
Arthur.
quarterback. Let's hold that note because this, I think,
Arthur or the rookie quarterback.
Arthur. I think there might be an interesting argument that Arthur's actually been pretty good so far.
I'm looking at the stats from this Chiefs and Bucks game. The Chiefs are 12 of 17 on third down.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about the defense.
I mean, that's ridiculous, man.
Their defense.
it's
should be
also been a
stifling.
long week though for the Bucks. You've been dealing with all of that in Tampa,
Right.
And a lot of those guys' homes maybe were in danger. They don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
where they're They've had to practice in Miami all week, and then all of a sudden Friday. Oh yeah, you are playing at home. So do they just get thrown back in there? It's not good for Kansas City because they didn't know where they were playing all week either. But at least they got to practice at home, and they aren't worried about their homes.
Right. They're just going to sit in Kansas City and wait for the word to go wherever. They're just
Right.
going to practice. They're just
And they
gonna,
did. I mean, did the Bucks? I mean, it was garbage time, but they still ended up scoring plenty of points. But
At 31. Only lost by 10.
so I still think it can't be too much, especially in the NFC. Too much of an overreaction. I think. Luckily, after the Eagles, there's no one that's playing great. I mean, let's talk Packers-Pats. That's a problem. You're almost losing to the Bailey Zapp-led Patriots.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers actually said right after that game, he said winning this way is not sustainable, which is completely, I completely agree. You really just went into OT with Bailey Zapp? You know,
Do you think that was one of those things
concerning.
where he comes into the game and it's such a we should just be absolutely murdering this that it's almost kind of like a shock, like one of those it's unexpected because it made no sense. It made no sense.
Possibly, but you're the Green Bay Packers, but let alone you're an NFL team full of great players. Why is that? Why are you shocked that Bailey Zapp's coming into the game? And I mean, he's still an NFL quarterback. It's not like he's going to just go out there and completely...
He hung in there.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
hung in there. He
He's an
looked good.
NFL quarterback. So don't be surprised that he's making throws. He's a quarterback. They drafted him for a reason.
2022 DVOA ratings through offense. It's still only week 4. It's early, but the Falcons are 8th.
Okay.
I think they're actually situationally pretty good because Cordale's been good. I think like he's been good enough in the running game that he throws you off too because you can gadget him in the passing game.
Yeah.
Drake's been really good. And then even that Zacchaeus guy is like a third option with Pitts. I guess maybe Pitts is at least taking the attention away. I guess you'd have to look at the all 22 film, but I assume when teams game plan for them, they're saying, all right, let's look at number 8 first and let's figure out what we're going to do with him. But a lot of the pieces are kind of there. I think Mariota, there's just a limit to what he clearly can do. But even him, he's running around. He's escaping out of the pocket. He's safe in a way that is that's good, at least in terms of he's not turning it over to a crazy extent. You're not going to make certain plays with him and score on certain drives with him. But they're just fun, dude. I love the Falcons. I love watching them. Add them in a betting lesson we've learned is they're cover machines. Because they're going to stick around and they've got these playmakers to where even if they need a backdoor cover at the end of a game, they're going to get that. Let alone they might jump on you early and all of a sudden a team's kind of fighting and it's going to be a close game regardless.
What does their schedule look like in terms of strength of schedule?
The Falcons?
Yeah.
In the NFC South,
they play in Tampa next week, followed by the 49ers.
You can't tell me they won't play a close game with Tampa. Why do we think that game's not going to be close?
Right?
Because they're not I don't know about that one. It's not the Chiefs.
Yeah, but what have the Bucs done in the last 3 weeks to look like?
No, the Bucs don't look like themselves, but I don't know.
The Falcons hung in there with the Rams.
The Falcons are another one of those teams where they're averaging 25 points a game, but again, they're allowing 25 a game.
Yeah, Bucs easily could come out and just start romping on them easily.
But
at the same time, a divisional game. Well, the divisional games can always get weird. Dude. Can always get weird.
They're always very weird.
But I do like that they drafted Drake London because now it's another guy you got a game plan for because clearly
it's not just Pitts.
He's good.
Oh yeah.
And I mean he's only gonna get better.
I really like him. I like that build of receiver, the big, tall guy, grab a jump ball.
If you had to pick between Saquon and Nick Chubb,
well,
are we picking on their teams or just the player?
No, if you had to pick one, if you're starting a team, let's say you're the Cowboys, and I just get an open draft, I get to pick Saquon or Nick Chubb.
And you draft him as a rookie
right now, who do you want?
I'm taking Nick Chubb.
Me too.
Really? Over Saquon?
Yeah,
man. I love Saquon, but I love Nick Chubb. He's probably my favorite non-Charger.
I love him personally. I just think Saquon does a little more.
Yes.
He catches the ball.
With less.
But
with not as good of an offensive line.
Nick Chubb also came into week 4 with the most touchdowns, the most yards, and the most yards per carry.
It can't be the most touchdowns because does Jamal Williams not lead the league in touchdowns?
Well, after today, for sure. But he came into this week.
Most rushing yards NFL. Right now, Saquon.
Mm-hmm. I love Saquon. Don't get me wrong, and I think he adds an element to the pass game. Like he's gonna catch a ball and
Chubb's great. Yards. Chubb's great.
Something about Nick Chubb that is just kind of like old school running back, where he really doesn't catch the ball and he's just kind of downhill guy, and I love it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
Nate, where are you seeing these stats? Because I'm on ESPN and it hasn't updated yet. Because right now it's showing Nick Chubb still. It only has the 3 games played.
I saw a scrimmage touchdown. So far this season, passing touchdown leader is Jared Goff, tied with 11, and scrimmage touchdown leader is Jamal Williams with 6. So maybe he's got most rushing touchdowns, but from scrimmage, Jamal has 6 touchdowns, leading the league.
Dude, he's a bad boy.
As is Rashad Penny, another great game. He's good. He's really good. He's another bowling ball that when he gets downhill, he's just fast.
He's real speedy once he gets going.
And he hits it quick.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good. He's just behind a team and they're building the O-line, 2 rookie tackles that have played pretty well, but they've been so bad the last 2 years, and he's been so banged up that he's just gotten kind of screwed. But he's good. He's really good.
Yeah, it kind of sucks when you have a good running back running behind a just garbage can of an offensive line because you're just going to take a beating
completely. Najee. In the last 2 years of the players who have had minimum however many carries it was when I read it, he had the lowest yards before contact. And that's why his yards per carry is so much because he was getting hit at or behind the line of scrimmage almost like twice as much as the next closest running back. It was every single time he was touching the ball. It's my thing with ETN. I love James Robinson, also very good, kind of downhill guy, like just a good running back. You can't tell me that he's just more talented than ETN. I still think ETN is just as good. If you watch the Jags offense, if you watch it, the holes are just there for James. A lot of
Right.
James's carries, the holes are there and he hits them, and ETN's just getting met in the backfield. And yeah, he's dropped a ball or two, and it's not been a good start. And James Robinson's really good.
Why do you think that is though? Like it's not like the offensive line is just pulling one of those. Oh, we're not blocking for this.
I don't know. It's just blowing my mind. I don't know.
Do you think it's more of like?
I think it's just happenstance.
Do you think that James Robinson, because he's the guy there or whatever, they could? It seems like when ETN goes into the ball game, they tend to give it to him, like right away. So maybe that's why defenses are starting to play on that a little bit. Once ETN checks in, make sure he doesn't get the ball.
I don't know.
I don't know though.
Yeah, I would, but in my mind, I would almost think if James is on the field, it's more likely to be a run, and maybe I'm going to call a defense that's more likely to guard a run. But then the hole's there, and he hits it, and he's better. I don't know.
And
it could just be a chemistry thing with the offense. I'm sure it's the same thing with receivers or quarterbacks that are working with certain receivers. I'm sure it's the same thing with a running back in his offensive line, like a chemistry of how they block and how somebody runs.
Yeah, timing.
Yeah.
Timing of hitting the holes, letting it develop.
Patience.
Kamara was great at that. 2 years ago?
Yeah.
When he'd literally take the handoff and he'd just sit there and bounce back and forth
Right.
and wait for the offensive line to
Le'Veon.
make something. Le'Veon,
Oh,
great
Patent
example.
pending.
He was one of the best.
He was the first one, the one that
So good.
I mean, too far because announcers would just gawk over it every single week. But there would be times where it looks like he literally comes to a stop at the line of scrimmage, and then just like
Yeah, he almost did. He's just sitting there
Yeah.
waiting for his hole.
that was
Oh, I'm
great.
sure
One of
you
the
could-
most patient running backs.
Mhm.
Effectively patient, not like hesitate.
Yeah, what do you think Kyle Shanahan, like ETN, I feel like with maybe a Kyle Shanahan zone scheme, which I don't know how that
That
compares
could
to what
work.
Jacksonville is doing, but if I'm picturing
work.
James Robinson and ETN on the Niners, I'm just imagining ETN being better because that maybe just skinnier build,
Get out in
I don't
space,
know.
catch a ball.
It was kind of
like
When-
Alfred Morris compared to ETN, who's going to fit better in Shanahan, even though Alfred Morris had
you kind
1,600
of saw
yards
that
as a
with
rookie or
when
Yeah.
Jerick McKinnon was on the 49ers. You saw that a lot, the way that they utilized him. That was fun to watch.
right. And ETN's a first round talent version of McKinnon.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know. I just want to believe in him because I spent $26 on him.
Hey, he'll come around.
Hawkinson. Round of applause
Love
for
him.
Hawkinson. Most yards by a tight end in Lions history. Fantastic.
Wow.
Here's a fun fact. The Seahawks are 14-1 in their last 15 10 a.m. body clock road games.
Body clock, what do you mean?
So nobody actually, remember how we said nobody plays at 10 a.m.? Because if you're playing in Dallas, they're 2 hours ahead, so the game's actually at noon.
Yep.
If you're playing in wherever, you're always ahead. That's why West Coast games are the afternoon games because they're playing at 1. The Hawks, if they travel to the East Coast, they're playing at 1 o'clock, but their body clock, they're playing at 10 a.m. in terms of what they're used to.
Right.
True.
So
True.
in those games where the Hawks are on traveling mostly, I'm sure, to the East Coast and playing at 1 a.m. on the East, 10 a.m. in the West, they're 14-1 in their last 15.
Really? Interesting.
I want to know how that gets found. Who's doing the research to filter that in and like figure out how that happens? Because I want to know where to find that. That's just unbelievable. One more shout out too, just to shout out Geno Smith. 23 of 30 for 369 and 3 tutties. 132 rating and like 50 yards rushing and a touchdown.
I said today it's a Justin Herbert stat line today.
Just unbelievable. Yeah, Justin Herbert finally had a Geno Smith stat line today too. he had a nice comeback. How did that feel to see the Chargers?
Almost Charger it away.
It's
I don't want to. Yeah, of course.
that second half
God,
offense is
so bad.
the second half offense is so bad. We just need to learn to.
I think it
Put
was
the gas
more you
down
guys
a
getting
little
on
bit.
track though than it was blowing it because it looked really good for the most
It's
part.
just tough because it's the Texans.
So you don't know.
Yes, you don't know. Like they're a very disorganized team. There's a lot they could stand to improve on.
Who's
but
next?
it feels good to win a game.
Who's next?
Denver, right? It's got to be Denver. Fuck, dude.
No. Denver plays the Colts on Thursday.
Cleveland.
because we're betting. the
Oh,
under.
it's Cleveland, and then week
Oh,
6
yeah, you're in
is
Cleveland.
Monday night with Denver.
You're in Cleveland.
We're
Ew,
in
you played
Cleveland.
Denver Monday night.
Yeah.
They're
And
just
that's gonna be the Russell Wilson coming out party, if I had to guess. But yeah, it's Cleveland next week. Is Miles gonna be back?
Oh man, I don't know. That was scary. You
Yeah.
saw the video of his car?
Yeah, I did.
Horrible,
Dude.
horrible.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was trying to play, but they were like, dude, come on, man. You just rolled your car 6 times.
Well, when they finally 2 days ago or whatever said all his injuries, he had like a sprained shoulder, a sprain.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was cut up. Do you see his face?
That's a big body to
Expected
be rolling
to-
around. He weighs a quarter of the weight of that car.
Miles Garrett expected to be affected by sprained shoulder for 2 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
18 hours ago.
It's an AC joint.
What does that mean affected by though? That doesn't mean whether or not he's playing or not.
Yeah, he might just be like
'Cause he's another
questionable or
TJ.
limited.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Give me the
need
shot.
you need him in the game, as in Cleveland. You have to have him.
He
Zach
has
Wilson. Go ahead.
he has a sprained AC joint in his left shoulder and a right bicep strain after the crash.
Oh, bicep
No.
strain. That can't be good, especially
not
when
good.
you're having to
He
get off.
Pushing guys and
he hit a fire hydrant and flipped several times. Did you see he got a ticket?
Yeah, he was speeding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, come on.
Yeah.
I hate to bring it up, but same way Paul Walker died, R.I.P. But
How could you not speed if you have that car though? There should almost be adjusted speed limits for
just
what kind of car you
go
have.
to a place that is meant for that. Go to roads that have nobody on them. Go to a
Could have been on a
racetrack.
road, but how did he hit a fire hydrant? There's just a fire hydrant
Dude,
in the road.
I'm sure he's doing 80, 90 miles an hour around corners and stuff. I mean, Porsches
Learn to
are
drive
designed for that.
but
learn to drive your car. Don't be driving like a jackass
aren't
if you're going to
hydrants
crash it.
like in neighborhoods?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he was probably it could have been a fire hydrant. Fire hydrant could really be, I mean, anywhere you want it to be, really. But I'm sure he was going through a
A prairie or
residential
something.
area of some sort. If you're hitting a fire hydrant, I mean, you don't see them on I-90.
Henry Ruggs. Guys, stop driving fast.
That's what I'm saying.
At least he wasn't drunk.
Go to somewhere that's actually designed for your car to just do that.
And learn how to handle your car so you're not crashing into fire hydrants. and
Right.
potentially really hurting someone.
Yeah.
How did we feel about the Eagles-Jags game? Do you have a feeling?
I feel like they're 4-0. They're really good.
I feel like that was
Jags are a good team. It's not like
that
they beat a
was-
scrub.
kind of. It was interesting to watch because the Eagles started horrible. I mean,
Pick
granted,
six.
it's a monsoon in Philly,
Yeah, but it's
So-
14-0 quick. We were like, ooh, this underdog parlay.
and then they come out and score 20 unanswered points in the second quarter, and then nobody scores the third, and then you have a 9-7 fourth quarter, and the Eagles come out on top.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you go to almost each of the Eagles games, this is a weird thing with their offense because they have their box score is like they explode one quarter and then they don't do really anything else the rest of the game. Yeah, they scored 24 points in the second quarter. They scored 0 in the first, third, and fourth. And in the Vikings game, it seemed like it blew up really fast too, just out of nowhere. You
and
guys
then they
were-
slowed down towards
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like that's strange. I don't know what to think about that. But again, monsoon, it's hard to but like Trevor turned it over 5 times. He lost 4 fumbles and threw a pick. But it was just like
Those weather
So
games are it's hard to
hard.
judge weather games.
yeah.
It really is.
One of the fumbles was really bad. He was in the pocket and he like was kind of padding the ball and then he had it in one hand and a guy barely bumped into him. Again, very Daniel Jones-esque. And it was like, okay, dude, just, even I know, keep 2 hands on the ball throughout the pocket.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, for the Jags to only lose by 8 in Philly while having 5 turnovers and almost getting their time of possession doubled.
they did make it interesting. Yeah, they did make it very interesting at the end. I like
mean,
that a lot.
I think that's a good sign for Jacksonville. Obviously those turnovers, the weather played at least some part in that, so I wouldn't really overreact about that. But
Philly shut out in the second half against the Vikings. 7 in
Yeah.
the first quarter, 17 in the second, and then shut out. So
mhm.
it's just odd. It's just very odd. Just division-wise in general. They're awful. The AFC South is awful. If I was picking a team to win the AFC South today, I would still pick the Jags. And I don't think that's an overreaction.
No.
They're playing the best
The
of
Colts
anyone
are
in that division.
so bad.
They're first in the AFC South.
I
man.
will say, though, is that not 2 wins in a row for the Titans? Even though it was the Raiders last week and it was ugly and they barely squeaked it, Derrick Henry's starting to get warm.
Once that boy gets going. I mean,
They're a different team. But Traylon Burks, we don't know the extent, but we did hear he got carted off. And that receiving core could get very thin very quickly. So that's a problem. But Henry's heating up, so I guess the Titans, if Henry's hot, have to be reckoned with because Vrabel's going to coach the D, and they're going to be in these little tight, low scoring slugfests.
You got to respect them.
Yeah.
You got to respect them.
So NFC South, we'd still pick the Bucks, but again, that's not a very good division. The AFC West, you have to just say it's Kansas City's to lose at this point. The Raiders are bad, and the Broncos are bad, and you guys are just week to week a roller coaster. 1 week you're the best team in the division, and then 1 week we're scratching our heads going, this is the same old story. The AFC North, we think the Bengals are back on track. We don't need to go through the whole Tua thing.
No.
Everyone's done that for 3 days. He was clearly concussed a week and a half ago, or a week ago today. He was concussed, and they let him play, and it's ridiculous. And the NFL and NFLPA fired that independent guy, and I think just low-key admitted, yeah, he had a concussion when we let him play, but we're going to switch protocols and just move on, I guess. But the Bengals kind of back.
Yeah.
Big win, even though Tua went down and didn't run away with anything. One thing I did see today, second in carries, second in attempts is Joe Mixon. 21st in yards is Joe Mixon. Not good. A lot of 20 carries for 64 yards. I swear he never runs for more than 6 yards at the most.
if you watch him play, it's not him. I don't think it's Joe.
It's the line.
Yeah, it's
The
the
line's
line,
not
man.
blocking.
It's
Line's bad.
Because don't tell me he can't hit a hole. Don't tell me he can't stiff arm a guy and make a guy miss and drag guys for 4 yards.
I mean,
at
we
him.
watched it.
Look what he did in Raising Cane's in Oklahoma. The guy knows how to hit a hole, dude.
Which is weird because that offensive line is pass blocking very well. Very well.
They look much better.
I mean,
I think maybe it probably is underrated. We talk about how underrated it is, the value that people put on O-linemen, but again, a chemistry thing. Maybe when you're just overhauling 60%, 80% of the offensive line, it's going to take those guys a little while.
It takes
especially
time.
when Joe wasn't there the whole camp.
Oh yeah, it takes time.
But they look a lot better. So between them and the Ravens, God, that's a big blown loss by the Ravens today. That makes me mad because I love Lamar.
It's not indicative. They played on anything for me. They played the Bills, dude.
But that's one you need to win. You had that game won.
I mean, that could be a championship matchup right there, so you have to win it.
It could be a game that costs you the division. The Browns are 2-2.
Yeah, you're up 14-3 in the first quarter, and
I also had the revelation that it makes sense the Browns are playing this well. I know, it's we're expecting Deshaun, so we're waiting for the top 5 guy to come in. But Brissett is still here compared to Baker here. Brissett is much better, much, much, much better than Baker.
He is very smart with how he plays. Like that game on Thursday last week, he's just hitting guys where he needs to, not doing anything too much.
He knows what he can do.
Situational, very not going to take a lot of risks. Just going to hit Amari for 8 yards, and we'll just dink and dunk our way down the field. I'm not going to throw any ducks, not going to throw a pick.
But he has a decent arm.
Oh, yeah.
He can make the throw downfield if Amari can never get open.
Sure.
But I think they're pretty good. And he was 7th in DVOA passing coming into this week. And I think they're going to, they can hang in there. They're not a threat to the division because they're not going to be able to hang around in a division winner type of record, especially with the Ravens and Bengals.
Yeah.
But I as chaotic, going into the Thursday night game or going into the game 2 weeks ago against the Jets, we were like, if they don't win this, we're crossing them off. And now they're right back there, tied at the top of the division. And I'm sure there's a Baltimore-Cincinnati matchup coming up in the next 3 weeks that's going to be huge.
I'm saying right now Baltimore takes that division.
Really? J.K. Dobbins looked great today. He looked great.
finally,
If he
man.
can just stay healthy.
Yeah,
Just
I
stay
know.
healthy and add so
But
much to the
this
offense.
makes sense that this is about the time he gets healthy because
Yeah.
of the slew and
Mhm.
severity of those injuries. That was awful.
It's a lot.
I'll agree with you, Mason.
Yeah.
I really think that the Ravens might take it, man. Looking at their schedule, I mean,
Both are hard. It's just who's going to be playing better come December. And I guess you know what's weird is that we're supposed to like the Ravens defense. They're like the team that you just think of having a good defense, and they have good players, but their defense has not played well at all to start the year,
Giving up 20
especially their secondary.
giving up 25 points a game.
Ugh, where are they on Football Outsiders DVOA rankings? It has to be low. Because, I mean, it wasn't even just that Dolphins game. It's been 3 of their games they've given up a lot of big plays. So I don't really know how to feel about that because it really throws me off because they're not really, I mean, they did today. That was good. But up until today, they haven't run the ball at all. So I guess maybe if JK can be back and you're getting somewhat that performance every week, I guess that changes things.
They were very, very, very injured last year. It's going to take some time for everything to really mesh back together and the team to be complete. So I'm going to give them time. I'm going to say what I said for who would I say it for? But I'm just giving them time. I'm giving them time to get it together. And I think by the end of the season, they're going to come together. The defense will figure it out. Oh, I was saying it about the Packers receivers that I think eventually they're going to get it together, which it looks like for the most part. They are improving.
Yeah.
I think we can expect some improvement from the defense and the team because they were so injured last year. For the past couple of seasons, really.
Yeah.
So give them some time, and I think they're going to take the division.
I'm looking at Baltimore on the DVOA. They're third at 43%.
And for DVOA, we can state again, my favorite statistic of the advanced analytics, just because it takes everything into account for an offense and it builds a percentage that's above or below the league average. So a 5-yard rush is taken into account. It's much more valuable. It's given a higher percentage and is weighted better on 3rd and 4, a 5-yard rush compared to 1st and 10, compared to even more 2nd and 22. That 5-yard rush is not going to be weighted as good as a 3-yard rush on 3rd and 3. It takes into account situational, and even more so after this week, they start to take into account your schedule and the opponents you're playing. They don't do it at the beginning because it's so up in the air. You don't know who's good and who's bad. But now that gets included into it, and it just seems to be, given the circumstance of this game and these drives and these possessions, what really happens and where does this team rank?
They are number one in offense at 34%, 34.7, and
Who?
they're the Ravens.
Wow.
And defense is ranked 18th.
Yeah, so that's it. We're just going to have to. But again, they've played in a couple really weird games. This weather game was weird. I feel like they had one more in the first couple weeks that was really odd in terms of weather or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, I think it's just an implicit bias of the Ravens. They get it together, and when they're healthy, they're good.
Yeah.
It's kind of simple as that.
Yeah.
But so far, there's not really been many injuries on the defense, and they're just not playing good. So I don't know.
Give them some
It's
time.
something to watch. It's
Give them
something to
some
watch.
time.
It's a quarter of the way through the season. We're running.
That's okay.
Okay.
We need some more time, too.
You guys need.
We need a lot.
They need time to mesh. You need time to recover.
We need Joe Lombardi to pack his bags.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else? Cowboy game went kind of as expected. We swallowed up Wentz. Cooper looked good again. There's no controversy, anything like that, because a lot of the game he doesn't look great, and he's still. I mean, again,
Just
very
making
very
plays.
Jacoby Brissett like.
Just making plays where he needs to.
Yeah, knows what he's gonna. Knows where the reads are. Knows where the hot routes are. Doesn't
He knows
make
his
the
limits.
mistakes. He hasn't thrown a pick. It's been great.
He knows his limits. He's not taking risks. He's not a gunslinger. He's
Good win for you guys in London, but again, one that was expected, especially once we knew Jameis was out. Even though, who knows if that's even if
though
Andy
he would have
looks
given
better.
you 2 picks.
Yeah, I guess, but he also maybe would have thrown for a few more.
Yeah, well, I'd like to give Greg DeLeg all of the kudos for this one. Went 5 for 5 on field goals.
Career high.
Mm-hmm.
I heard them say he never had in college or high school. Kicked
Interesting.
more than 4.
Interesting stat. The Vikings going into this game, so I don't know what it'll be after, but they were averaging a new set of downs on 35% of their plays.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the best in the NFL.
So that tells you they're not on. Say that again.
They're averaging a new set of downs on 35% of their plays. So
Good
So
you're
not
not
a lot of
plays.
third downs, and you're doing a lot better on first down. And what was the most frustrating thing with Zimmer's offense is
3 and out,
Run,
3 and
run.
out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out,
and
3 and
we're
out.
gonna run it on first down, and if that doesn't work, we're gonna just stick to it.
We're gonna run it
again.
first, second, and third. Maybe
Yeah.
throw a play action in there every other drive.
Yeah, but McConnell's just moving guys, or Kevin O'Connell's moving guys around. I love how much they're in motion. I just remember in that first week against Green Bay, seeing the chart came up in the third quarter. Last year, the number of plays that Jefferson ran in motion, and he had already literally ran that many just in the Packers game.
I know.
2,
It's
3 quarters.
Unbelievable.
I love when they put him in the backfield and then they let him run routes out of there, dude. It's one of the most genius things I've ever seen. Because like you were saying, you don't have a lot of I mean, you got 2 years on Jetta now, so you can, but you don't have that film. You know what I mean? You don't have film of how do I guard him out of the backfield?
Yeah.
How do you play that? You know what I mean? How do you play him coming in motion and then he'll go from one side of the formation to the other, and then he'll go all the way back during his route, and it's great. It's awesome. That's why he's wide open half the time.
Yeah.
It's because people just lose him.
And it's a perfect example of who do you want? This guy? Do you want the better quarterback with just Mike Zimmer calling plays? Josh Allen? Would you rather Josh Allen with Mike Zimmer's led offense, wherever that coordinator was? Let's just say it was Zimmer's offense, the offense you've had to watch the last 4 years, or Kirk Cousins with this offense. It's you think about it too much to where it tells you how important the play caller is and the system is.
Oh, definitely, man.
What is Dak minus Kellen Moore? Not as good as Cooper Rush. That's what he is.
Hey, I said it. Do we think about getting rid of Dak? No, you guys can't. You paid him.
That's not even why. It's just you don't think
Cooper's
about it because he's
not
not
the
as
answer.
good. He's just
Hey.
not. He was just practice squad guy for a reason. And
How's
now it's working because let's not act like he's putting up 35 points a game like the Lions. They scored 25 today. They scored 20 last week. Like the defense is playing out of their mind, and that's why. And even he said that. And he's in the post game. He said we're winning because of our defense. Like this is cool. You guys, I get to do the interview with Aaron Andrews. Shout out to Aaron Andrews. But we're winning because of Micah, and we're winning because of
You got to give him
best
some
fucking corner in the game.
credit though, man. He's got a 95.9 QBR this year. He's thrown for 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. He's got a 60% completion rate.
No, he's doing it.
7.2
He's doing
average.
the damn thing.
He's doing his job.
Yeah. But
He's
again,
doing
it's
his
been week 2 one was weird against the Bengals. But again, how many points did we score? 17, 20 against the Bengals. And then the Giants, we scored 20, and today we scored 25. He's just doing it. He's getting us through. It's like if you would have told me Dak is going to go down in week 1 and it's going to be week 5 and he still hasn't played, and the Eagles are 4-0 and the best team in the NFC and Jalen Hurts is doing what he's doing, I would have been terrified. And the fact that we're a game out is unbelievable.
It's great, man.
Especially in the NFC. We could not win our division, which we will. But we could not win and still make the playoffs because it's awful. This isn't the AFC where you got to win 11 games just to be a 7 seed. Okay, I think that was pretty good. Pretty good for the slate. We hit them all, other than Giants Bears, which doesn't deserve worth mentioning.
No.
Fields is bad. Jones is bad. Both teams bad. Giants are 3-1 though, so whatever that
Go
means.
Dable.
Let's get ourselves over to FanDuel.
I got my little
I
parlay.
got some right here. I got my 3-leg.
All right, I actually haven't even taken a look at the lines, so I'll take a look and I'll listen to you guys. You can tell me what you got. Do we remember what last week's were? We didn't look at it before.
No, I forgot.
I forgot as well.
I know I liked
It's
the
in-
Falcons, and I know that we liked the Cardinals, so I kind of remember 2 of mine, but I know that you guys jumped on the Dolphins.
Yes, we
And
did.
I didn't like it.
And unfortunately,
And I know you both liked another game that was just way too hard of a game to be picking. And maybe it was this Chiefs-Bucks game. And I feel
yeah,
like,
it was, and I liked the Chiefs.
yeah, I think we all
liked
liked
the Chiefs in it.
I think we'd all like the Chiefs.
Which, dude, they look good, man.
They looked really good. The
They
defense looked really good.
When they're clicking, dude, it's special to watch that Chiefs team play. It really is.
With McDuffie and now Travarius Ward. Like, that's a secondary that I know they lost Tyron, so that was a loss. But Juan Thornhill is at least one guy back there, and he's great. So the secondary is pretty good, and up front with Frank Clark and Chris Jones. I mean, and then not Marcus Golden, Bolton, the linebacker, second-year linebacker, who was one of those fourth-round picks that gets on the field his rookie year, and you're like, oh, sick, that fourth-round pick is going to be elite. So that's great.
Yeah, Karlaftis is good too.
And Karlaftis, we liked him, yeah.
Purdue.
It's good. Yeah, they're good.
I knew the Chiefs would be good, though. Everyone was like kind of like fading them because of Tyreek, but like, oh, they're just a well-oiled machine, and they just know how to win games.
Well, they went out and after the Bucks absolutely embarrassed that team in the Super Bowl and just ate that offensive line up.
Oh, yeah.
They immediately went, okay, if we're going to keep Patrick Mahomes healthy, going to keep him doing what he does, he needs an offensive line. That's where it starts.
That's what an organization that cares about winning does. That's where it starts.
And they did it immediately.
Championship organization and front office. They know what it takes to win, and they won't stop at any expense to make it happen.
Right. Just have a little bit of nuts. That's what I don't say, or that's what I don't understand about these organizations that that don't take action right away with like the biggest problem.
You guys have thrown. You guys spent 2 straight first-round picks.
Storm Norton should have been cut after Week 18 last year, and the fact that we kept him on the roster if Slater went down.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with.
No, you cut that.
But also, didn't they immediately start? He hasn't even started. Didn't they start someone else there today?
We started.
So I think they know. I think they
didn't know. He had
capital.
chances this season.
You've spent the capital.
Yeah, we went back O-line in draft, which is great. But there's
you guys just probably hired the wrong coach.
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my parlay for next week's games, for Week 5, I like the Lions spread at 2.5 against the Patriots.
I have the Lions.
I like the 49ers minus 4.5 against the Panthers. And I like the Cowboys at plus 5.5 against the Rams. I really do.
At +5.
At plus 5.5.
So wouldn't you? Because that's a weird number. Would you rather bet them just to win?
Yeah, but I like my chances of, okay, well, what if something loose happens towards the end of the game and they lose by a field goal? I still like them covering at 5.5.
So even with Cooper Rush, you think they're a field goal?
Oh, absolutely. Dude, what have the Rams shown you this year that makes you think that they can't win this game? The Rams, I mean, I'm not going to say they're bad, but definitely not the Rams last year. Granted, they lost a decent amount of players. You lose Odell in the Super Bowl, and then he's doing whatever. You lose Von Miller. Didn't they lose?
Stafford's arm is weird.
Yeah. God knows what's up with that. He looked horrible week 1. I mean, awful. So, I really do like the Cowboys in that. And I have no reason to believe that Cooper Rush can't go in there and win. He's 4-0.
Yeah.
I mean, and that defense really looks like they can anchor down and ball with just about any team in the NFL.
Yeah, they could make it really tough. It'll be interesting tomorrow because the 49ers have a good defense. So that one also is kind of weird, even if they get shut down or even if someone goes off. Rams-Niners games are weird. Shanahan kind of owns McVay in a very strange way. It's so funny. It's so funny. There was that one Washington team that had just LaFleur, McVay, Kyle Shanahan.
Was it Kingsbury part of it?
No.
Was that when they had Ron Rivera?
No, this was Jay Gruden. I just heard Will Compton talking about it this last week. Yeah, it was Gruden, and they had Shanahan, and then I think it was the OC at the time, and then like quarterbacks coach was McVay. Oh, Mike McDaniel was on it. Mike McDaniel was on the coaching staff. So funny. Okay, so say yours again.
49ers minus 4.5 against the Panthers at Carolina. I like that. I like the Cowboys plus 5.5 against the Rams. And I like the Lions plus 2.5 against the Patriots.
Okay. What does that get you?
That is 6-1.
Okay.
Okay, I have the Detroit money line, Baltimore money line, just to win that game, and I'm gonna take the under in the Tennessee Washington game,
What is it at?
42 and a half.
42 and a half.
That's a good number. That's a good number for a game like that. To bet the under.
Yeah, not
That's
a
a good
good,
number.
not a good offense in Washington,
No.
and the Titans like to run the ball.
God, I hate Carson Wentz. I don't even want to talk about him. I hate him so
Yeah,
much.
we don't gotta talk about it. It's bad. It's bad.
What I don't understand is he was so good.
Could have been an MVP.
I mean, he was going to win the MVP if he didn't he jack his leg up
Yeah,
real bad,
tore his knee,
and then
in,
he
like,
came.
week 16 or 17.
Mm-hmm. That's right, because that was Nick Foles' little whatever that was. I'm still so mad about that.
I don't even think he. I don't know what week that was, but Nick Foles played every playoff game, and he might have played the last regular season game.
I think you're right. I think Nick Foles came in the last regular season week and then played the rest of the season.
So it must have been week 16 then, and then week 17 Nick Foles comes in, playoffs.
Might have been, yeah.
I don't know if they might have had a bye.
Well, I'm just thinking about Carson Wentz. If he played 16 games, that should have been enough to get him an MVP.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it must have been earlier, maybe week 15, 14.
maybe. I think it was pretty late though, which was weird that he didn't win it because it was so close to the end of the season, and it was like he's winning MVP.
Yeah.
Then he gets hurt, and they're like, "Well, we can't give it to someone who's hurt." Like that's what it felt like at the time.
Uh-huh.
Him and Derek Carr both went down.
Yeah, yeah.
That was sad. Derek Carr was looking like he was sprouting out.
Was
be
that
like
the
this-
year he broke his leg, or was that the
Yeah, that was when Gruden.
2016.
Yeah, ironically, Gruden was on the call for that game. That was when ESPN had like their first playoff game in a long time, and it was Raiders, Ravens, maybe. I don't know. I like the Falcons +8 in Tampa.
Because it's divisional.
It's divisional. If you're giving me more than a touchdown, I think that they're going to at least keep it close. We saw a defense tonight that gave up 38 points, 41 points to the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they haven't given up a lot in the first few games, but I also don't love their offense right now. They're not running the ball, and the Falcons defense played okay today.
I think, or
They did run it all over them today, the Browns.
I heard
Ish.
something on the TV. One of the announcers said that Brady threw the ball like 22 times in a row.
Who did?
Brady threw the ball
Probably,
like
in
22,
the second
23
half.
times in a row.
Yeah, they had at one point -3 rushing yards to the Chiefs, like 140.
Ugh.
Which is really weird because
Well, they have offensive line issues.
Mm-hmm.
Wirfs is playing, but he's been
Yeah.
banged up. He got banged up in the Cowboy game. They lost.
That O-line's banged
They
up.
lost their backup left tackle in the Cowboy game, and I don't know if he was the one playing tonight, but they either had a backup or a third string in there, and then they lost their center at the start of the year.
yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
And Wirfs got
An all-pro.
hurt again tonight.
Did he?
Yeah, dude.
So
They're all so banged
that's
up.
a problem. That's a problem. So I like +8. I like you're giving me a touchdown.
Sure.
The Falcons have covered every single game so far this year. They're 4-0 against the spread.
That's going to be the
That's
one next
wild,
week. We
man.
go, I can't bet on the Falcons.
No, I mean they could disappoint me next week, and I still wouldn't. I mean they haven't done anything wrong to me yet. So you burn me like Colts. I won't stay away from the. You'd have to, for me to bet on this Colts Broncos game this Thursday. You couldn't give me free money to bet. I would. Just
I
take
was
the
just
free
going to
money.
say that you couldn't pay me to bet with your money.
No,
on
not
that
at
game.
all.
Speaking of the Colts, man, they looked bad. Well, things got worse because Jonathan Taylor's got a high ankle sprain now.
Yep.
That's what they believe. So
Great. He's not playing.
So do you
no.
go
No.
get that surgery?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, do we bet the Broncos?
No. Does Jonathan Taylor go get that? What is it called?
No.
The tightrope surgery? I don't know. There's a certain surgery that
For a sprain?
yeah, there's one doctor, I believe in LA, I'm not sure, that he specializes in this certain type of surgery that helps guys, instead of nursing that ankle for 8 to 12 weeks, really, is what a high ankle sprain would do, because that'll linger for sure. You go get this surgery, you come back in 6 to 7.
I'm not getting a surgery if I'm him.
No, me
I'd
neither.
rather just be out 3 months. If team's bad, save me 200 carries on my body.
True. But if you get the surgery, you're also saving yourself.
But he hasn't looked great
I'm not.
even before this. Jonathan Taylor has not looked the same, but I like to blame that on the offensive line a little bit.
We know it's not Taylor.
He's
Yeah, because we
You
know
know.
how good he is.
right.
I like the Jags -7. I would probably buy it down to 6.5, but I like them at home -7 against the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Texans are bad, and I still believe, and this is I believe the Jags are good bet. So they played a tough game that they still fought hard in today. I think they go home, and a bad team comes in, and I think if they're a good team, then they beat the bad teams pretty well. I think they murder the Texans next week.
I mean,
I
they
think
put
you
up
have to as a good team.
they put up 38 points on the Chargers. I'm sorry, Mason, to bring it up, but
Oh, it's all good.
And the Texans today, yeah, they scored they finished with 24 points, but they had 7 points for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
right. If it wasn't for a 75-yard Damian Pierce touchdown,
Yeah,
that offense was looking awful.
yeah, it's not good. And I'm a member of Mills Mafia, so I would like to say that, but at the same time, I'll take the Jags -7.
Yeah.
My third and final is a money line road underdog. I like the Seahawks going into New Orleans.
Thank you. Seahawks look
As I said that
Good.
out loud, I said that that's stupid because Geno Smith and the Hawks defense going into New Orleans to the Superdome, where the Saints defense is still very good. And even though today didn't look good, I don't take London games really into account for anything. They're just strange. Their defense is still good. They've played good the first 3 weeks.
I like that bet though.
at home. But the Hawks are just no. I don't
No, I like
The
that
Hawks
bet.
defense is so bad.
Yeah, but yeah,
I would
it
think
is bad,
okay.
man.
I'll take it back. I'm gonna go +4.5.
You like the
I'll
you
take
like
the points.
Okay,
I'll take the points. 4.5. You're telling me on a neutral field?
they could lose by a field goal.
Yeah.
That's where I was coming in with the Cowboys.
But there is a strategy that big bettors use, and especially with those Vegas zone numbers 4 or 5 that don't hit hard very often at all. If you think the team is going to be that close, depending on what the money line number is, it's worth it to bet the money line and just bet them to win. The Falcons were one today. I think they were +1.5, and it was like, well, the odds that they lose like by 1, like you're gonna get better odds, and it's more likely that they actually win than it is that they lose by 1.
Right.
So like it depends, and I'm not smart enough to know what those numbers are, but I think the Cowboys might actually be a good one because the argument for them keeping it close is the defense plays really well. They're really annoying the Rams. It's a low-scoring game. So then like that's the formula that the Cowboys are winning with right now. So depending on what the odds are, it might make more sense to bet the Cowboys to win. Mine's a
And-
little different because the Hawks are not a good team. So like I don't trust them to even play so well for 3.5 quarters, but then blow it. So I don't trust that. So I think I will take the +4.5. But the difference alone is +4.5 gets me to 6-1. If I were to pick them just to win outright, it takes it up to almost 10-1. So
Well, and the Rams defense this year has been a little shaky, little spotty here and there. I mean, they're
yeah, it
averaging,
definitely hasn't been as dominant.
they're giving up 23 points a game.
Who's got the better corner in the Cowboys-Rams game next week?
You'd have to say Jalen. You'd have to-
say Jalen.
You'd have
All right. Stats in their last 8 games played would say different, but that's just me.
to. Okay.
Jamar had 2 catches for 14 yards against him 2 weeks ago.
I'll say this,
He's
dude.
had 2 picks the last 2 games,
Trayvon
4 pass breakups.
definitely put some time in this offseason to make sure that he was not. Because last year.
He's not getting beat as much.
Yep.
He won't have 11
Uh-huh.
interceptions, but he's not going to also give up the 3rd most yards in the league. I think I'll say
Teams-
that.
Teams would deliberately throw at him.
But I still think, like, I would still take the 3rd most yards if you're getting me 11 picks. If you're getting me more interceptions than anyone else in 40 years. And, like,
You'd
what
have to-
interceptions do to flip games now, it's almost the whole, like home run strikeout thing in baseball where it's like, which speaking of, shout out, I put the Shohei jersey up today because he is the MVP. Get your Triple Crown 61 AL record home runs out of here, Aaron Judge. This guy's got 220 strikeouts and 35 home runs. It's absurd. Racist that he's not winning.
220 strikeouts.
225 strikeouts. Which 200, if you get 200 strikeouts as a pitcher, that's the equivalent of like a QB like reaching 5,000 yards. It's like rare, maybe 1-2 guys do it a year. And he has 225. A few more guys do it now because, again, it's either strikeout or home run now. So there's more. But 225 for someone who's let alone going to hit for 100 RBIs and 35 home runs it's just absurd. It's absurd. He had a no-hitter in the 8th inning the other night and was 2 for 4 with an RBI double. Like, it's absurd. And him getting... It's just one of the most racist things I've ever seen in my life.
He doesn't speak a lick of English, does he?
He has some slang. He's been in the locker room for 3 years now, so he can pick up on some words, but it's not great. It's like those UFC guys who have a translator, but then they like it's like they've been practicing this one thing where it's like, I'm here to kill everybody.
No, but I've noticed doesn't matter how good you are. In American sports, if you don't speak English, you're probably not going to be recognized the way you should.
No, it's the recency thing. It's the why LeBron didn't win MVP like 4 more times throughout the 2010s, and why Jokic would have to average literally 45 points and 20 rebounds to win it this year for a 3rd year in a row. Because even if he was like Giannis was the best player in the league last year, but he couldn't win it a 3rd year in a row because like.
Why though? That's so. It's so
because
stupid.
it's a narrative thing. It's a storyline. We just get bored. It's our fault. We get so bored with greatness immediately that we're not freaking out about what Shohei's doing. Like it's only been done once in the last 100 years, and it was him last year. And other than that, no one's done it in 100 years, and not even Babe did it. Babe hit and pitched combined for 2 seasons, and they were good. He hit 20 home runs. What do you do?
I don't even.
I know.
I'm sure he's great, but you know what?
He smokes cigars
Dude,
in between
just
innings.
Sweep that shit under the rug. If it's over 100 years,
yeah,
you're not playing baseball, dude, at all.
It was so. They had other jobs,
right? Yeah, he'd go work the docks, smoke cigarettes with his boys, and then he, all right, gotta go whack some balls.
Yeah.
If you put Babe Ruth in the MLB right now, his slugging.
Oh.
He's hitting.
No, flip it. Put Shohei in 1914. He's probably stoned on the streets, but he's out there hitting. I can't. You can make up a number.
800.
300. 800 home runs. As many at bats as he had, he's probably had half of those at bats are home runs. Half of them.
Absolutely.
And the other one.
Same thing with basketball, man. It's just get it out of here. You know, I don't even.
I don't agree as much with that
I know.
as you do.
Nobody agrees with me on this, but
that's because you go back to like you think some guys in the 90s, like you take it too far, and even the 80s, the 8 guys in the 80s like Hakeem Olajuwon and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, like there were so many good players. Even like Joe Dumars today would be an 8-time All-Star. He was the shooting guard for the Pistons when they won in the late 80s. He was great. The guys on those Celtics teams, like those were some of the best teams of all time in those decades because they actually were teams and they actually cared about the way basketball was played. It actually was played a lot better. But, sure, there's cooler dunks.
Yes,
and guys are better shooters, but that's only because they spend so much time doing it and they did it growing up.
All my argument has ever been is talent-wise, basketball players are so much better than they were.
But that's just like evolution. So you can't you put it on the other guys. Because if the other guys grew up with a coach who knew the perfect way to shoot a ball, he would have been taught at 7 years old to start shooting this certain way.
Right.
And then they know that these certain strength exercises are the best for basketball that help your vertical and all this. Yeah, they would have been doing that but no, they were like lifting just apple trees, and like, that's what Larry Bird was doing.
Bench pressing buckets full of water.
Yeah, literally. And as well as they couldn't afford to put in the time because they got paid $34 a game. so they actually had to have another job for that reason. I mean, the league was in shambles until the early 80s, but
That's true.
okay. So parlays, what was the odds on yours?
It was
Around
plus
6, 7,
5,
plus 5.
76.
I feel like this is that's the way to be doing it.
You don't want to get outlandish.
Yeah, to keep them. I like your idea of one big tease a week, one big tease, especially when you're doing 9 points. But then I don't think it's ever take a parlay when you're doing money lines or spreads. Never take it above 4.
I agree.
Never take it above 4 unless it's the fun little $5 underdog one like we had today, because that one's fun. We put the Jags with the under in the Ravens Bills, which hit, the Falcons to win, which hit as an underdog, and then the over in that one, which didn't hit. It was within 3 points, which again, Browns 2 drives inside the 10, you get 3 points, free to Sean. And then the Jags were the other one, but it was like 22-1. So it was like 5-1, like 120.
Yeah.
So we were like, it was just like we were
It's
really
fun.
excited for the Jags game, and we wanted something little underdog. But again, make it simple. If you would have gone the Jags and the Falcons, just two underdogs to win, you probably get 8-1, and it's like that's great. That's great. Take the easy ones where they come. It's the lessons we're learning from the beginning of this season.
Yeah,
Take them.
Speaking of those 10-leggers, dude.
Take the easy ones. Throw something crazy at a big tease, and whatever you do not include Matt Ryan or Russell Wilson in those.
Unless it's turnovers.
Include Drew Lock and Geno Smith. This has been another episode of Cover 3. We will see you guys next week.
Go boys.
Go Bulls.
Go Vikes.
Skol!